You're 19, sweeping hair and stencil paper off a shop floor for free because that's the only way in. Everyone thinks the money in this trade is the ink going into skin. It's not. It's a wait list with your name on it that a client will wait 14 months for, rather see anyone else. Between the kid with the broom and the man with the wait list sits an industry with almost no licensing floor and almost no income ceiling, and the entire distance between those 2 points is measured in one thing. This is every level of a tattoo artist's career in America, and where the money actually hides. If you like breakdowns of how careers actually progress, like and subscribe. Level 1. The shop sweeper. You're 18, and nobody's paying you and there's no other way in. Almost no state requires a formal license to become a tattoo artist the way a cosmetologist or an electrician needs one. But every legitimate shop requires an apprenticeship, unpaid, informal, and entirely at the discretion of whichever artist agrees to take you on. You show up 6 days a week. You sweep hair, ink caps, and stencil paper off the floor between clients. You autoclave needles and set up stations, and you learn the difference between a 3 round liner and a 9 magnum shader before you're ever handed a machine. You draw. Every night, for hours, in a sketchbook, the mentor artist flips through once a week and hands back without much comment, sometimes with a single line circled in red pen. You copy flash sheets by hand until your line work stops shaking. 6 months in, you're allowed to tattoo a grapefruit, then a pig's ear from the butcher down the street, because pig skin is the closest texture to human skin that a shop can legally get without a client asking for it. Your first line on the pig's ear wobbles. The mentor doesn't say anything. He just hands you another piece of pig skin. You do this for a year, sometimes 2, unpaid. Some artists calling it the fee for the education, some artists just calling it free labor with better branding. About half the people who start an apprenticeship this way quit within the first 6 months, according to shop owners who've run apprenticeship programs for decades, because the money doesn't come. And the correction never stops, and there's no guarantee at the end that says you'll ever get to tattoo anyone at all. Level 2. The apprentice tattooer. You're 20, and your mentor finally lets you tattoo a real client. A small anchor on your own ankle first, then a friend's forearm. Someone who knows you're new and is doing you a favor as much as you're doing them a service. You still don't get paid, or if you do, it's a crumpled $20 here and there. Cash, off the books, nowhere close to a wage. You're now responsible for bloodborne pathogen certification, a legal requirement in most states, regardless of the informal apprenticeship system around everything else. And you take the course seriously because it's the one part of this trade that actually has teeth. You learn to build a stencil that accounts for how your skin stretches differently on a shoulder blade than on a calf. You learn that a tattoo looks finished under the shop's ring light and looks different 3 weeks later. Once the swelling goes down and the scabbing peels, and you don't actually know if your work is good until you see it healed. Your mentor makes you photograph every healed piece that comes back into the shop, good or bad, and pins the bad ones to a board next to your station. Not to shame you, he says, but because the healed photo is the only true test in this trade, and you'd better get comfortable failing that test in public. You get your first real paying client at 21, someone who found you through a friend of a friend, not the shop's reputation. You charge $80 for a small piece that takes you 3 hours because your hand isn't fast yet. You do the math afterward and don't tell anyone the hourly rate. Level 3. The shop artist. You're 24, and you've got your own station now, a real chair with your name on a small placard, and walk-in clients who found the shop's Instagram rather than you specifically. You charge a shop minimum, often $100 to $150, and an hourly rate that's climbed to $150 to $200, depending on your city and the shop's reputation. The shop takes a cut, usually 30 to 50%, either as a straight commission split or as a chair rental fee, somewhere between $800 and $1,500 a month, depending on the market, win or lose that month. You build a real portfolio now, and you learn that the actual skill nobody warns you about isn't the needlework, it's the consultation. Reading a client who says they want something small and delicate, but is describing, in every other sentence, something bold and visible, and knowing which version to actually draw so they don't regret it in 6 months. A woman comes in wanting a memorial piece for her father, a specific handwriting sample from an old card, and you spend 40 minutes just talking to her before you ever pick up a pencil. Because a piece like this, done wrong, isn't a redo. It's a wound that stays. You get it right. She cries when she sees it healed, 3 weeks later, back in your chair, for the touch-up. That's the moment you understand the actual product isn't the tattoo. It's trust, held carefully, for about 4 hours at a time. Level 4. The guest artist. You're 28, and you've built enough of a following, mostly on Instagram, to start guest spotting, traveling to shops in other cities for a week at a time, taking client bookings through the host shop, while paying them a cut of your take, usually 20 to 30% for the chair and the local promotion. You fly to Los Angeles, Miami, sometimes overseas to London or Berlin, and your calendar for these trips fills up weeks in advance because your actual audience now follows you, not the local shop. You start attending conventions, paying a booth fee that runs $500 to $2,000, depending on the show's size, and working 16-hour days across a 3-day weekend because convention clients want it finished before they fly home, whether or not that's the right amount of time for the piece. At one convention, a client's design changes twice in the chair, mid-session, because he saw another artist's flash sheet at a neighboring booth and got nervous about his own choice. You talk him back into his original design, not because it's easier for you, but because you can tell the version he's panicking toward is one he'll regret. He thanks you a year later, in a comment beneath a healed photo you post. You start to realize your actual leverage isn't the needle skill anymore, it's the audience that follows you specifically, city to city, machine or not. Level 5. The studio owner. You're 34 and you open your own studio, 6 chairs, a full-time apprentice of your own now, and a lease that runs $6,000 to $12,000 a month, depending on your city, which you're personally liable for, regardless of how many chairs are filled that month. You're the one interviewing artists to rent your chairs now, usually at 40 to 60% commission split or flat monthly rent, and you learn the actual math of the business. That one slow month from a single artist doesn't sink you, but 3 slow months from 3 artists at once absolutely can. You stop taking every client yourself. You start being selective, curating a book that matches the studio's growing reputation, because your name on the door now means something distinct from any single tattoo you personally do that week. A health department inspector shows up unannounced, checking autoclave logs and Sharp's disposal records. You now have to maintain, not just for yourself, but for every artist under your roof, because the liability is yours now, not theirs. You pass. You always pass, because you learned from a mentor who pinned healed photos to a board. And never let anyone forget that the reputation is the only asset that actually compounds in this trade. Level 6. The elite artist. You're 44 and you've stopped renting chairs to anyone. You own the whole building now, and your personal book is entirely booked through a waitlist, not a walk-in line, not even a phone call, a formal application with reference photos that a client submits and simply waits on their back on, sometimes for over a year. You charge $400 to $600 an hour for large-scale custom work, and a full back piece across multiple sessions runs $30,000 to $50,000, depending on the complexity and your reputation in that specific style. You've been featured in Inked magazine and on Inkmaster as a guest judge, not a contestant. Because contestants are proving something and you no longer have anything left to prove. A private collector flies you to his home for a week, covering your travel and a day rate north of $5,000, just to work exclusively on one piece across his back that you started 3 years ago and will finish 2 years from now, session by session, because a piece at this level isn't rushed. Ever. You realize the actual asset was never your hand. Your hand is aging, slightly slower than it was at 24, and you know it. The actual asset is the waitlist itself, the 14-month waitlist that tells every client before they ever sit in your chair that what they're about to receive is worth waiting for. Final beat. 3 frames. The first, the kid sweeping hair off the floor, tattooing a pig's ear because there's no client yet who'll risk their skin on his hand. The second, the shop artist holding a crying woman's healed memorial piece, believing the needlework itself the whole answer. The third, the elite artist with the 14-month waitlist who learned the actual product never was the ink, it was the weight. A number that told every client, before the needle ever touched them, that what they're about to receive couldn't be gotten anywhere else, from anyone else, on any other timeline. The shop floor is still out there. Somewhere tonight, an 18-year-old is sweeping stencil paper off it, hoping someone finally hands him a machine instead of another piece of pigskin. The work is the same. The weight is not. You sweep the floor. You draw the flash sheet. You heal the piece, or you become the name a client will wait 14 months to sit in front of.